Hey, this is Kyle Carver from Strong Dads. Strong Dads wants to thank Crimer Beer House for sponsoring today's Strong Dads podcast. The beer house was started in 1982 by the Crimer family. Since that time, they have become a Cincinnati favorite. If you're looking for an incredible meal and an incredible setting, you have to try Crimer's Beer House down on Route 128 in Cleves, Ohio.
Welcome to Strong Dads. Hey, this is Merle Hutchinson and
Kyle
Crawford. Kyle, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Good. Yeah. So we are just getting ready to take off on a show today that you're probably gonna start crying. Yeah, even you, Kyle, Mr. Hard Heart, Cold Heart, yeah, Mr. Heartless over here.
Yeah, whatever.
We got a great story today, and I'm really looking forward to getting into it. We have a special guest in our studio today, AJ Waltz. Hello, AJ. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing well. So I have to give a little bit of background story first. I've known AJ for a long time, fairly long. AJ was the creative entrepreneurial kid that went through Bright Elementary where I was a school counselor. And AJ, I say this in a loving way, you were a geek, man.
Yeah. Still am sometimes.
Yeah, you had it like school was just something you did really well at, but you had so many other things going. You were an entrepreneur. You were selling ink pens that you made in your dad's wood shop, and you'd bring those things to school and sell those. You remember that?
Yep.
Did you remember me telling you couldn't sell them at school anymore?
Yeah.
And then, right then, when I addressed him and I said, AJ, hey, these are really cool, but you can't sell these at school, you turned right around and said, well, I've got one for you if you want it. And I bought it from you right there.
So you get from coming from salesmen.
Yeah. So I think that is just so cool. But, and I followed your story for quite a while here, just with when you were going through high school. I know you really got into a lot of different things. You just really have an entrepreneurial kind of spirit to you. But that's not really what we're going to talk about today. What we're going to talk about is you and your wife, Brittany, who got married, about 2 or 3 years ago? Something like that?
In 2000 and, oh my gosh.
Oh boy,
I know, right? I'm going to get in trouble for this one.
If she were here, I'm going to say about 2017.
Yeah, it was about 2 years ago. It's going to be 2 years this October. Well, it is October now.
Yes,
wow.
You're here.
Yeah,
Dude,
on the 21st this month, it's
you need to clean
years.
up your act.
I
You're
know.
going to be in big trouble. Big trouble. Yeah. Well, so you got married. And I followed you a little bit. You had some Facebook presence stuff. From what I was gathering, just an incredible spirit for business and stuff, and started some photography work and some pretty magnificent jobs that you got early. I remember seeing something about Victoria's Secret. Are you really like a photographer for Victoria's Secret?
Yeah, I get to travel some for them, which is really fun.
Yeah, we just did a show on pornography, so we probably can't talk about all of the details of that. Okay, so
it's a lot of corporate stuff. Is what I get to do for them. So it's fun. So
yeah.
travel.
But you've never been afraid to go out and take a chance.
Yeah.
Which has just been a cool thing about you as a kid and now as a dad. But the story here is going to go sideways in terms of excitement and fun. You and Britt get pregnant, and I'm going to let you kind of take the story over a little bit from there, okay? Because your story has just not been easy. It's not been, AJ has always been able to walk in a room and kind of own the room and get some things done, right? And some things have changed. So can you share the story maybe without, we won't go into day by day just because it is a day by day story, isn't it?
Is.
But I'd like you to share your story, you and Britt, and your little daughter, Charleigh.
Sure. So she came into the world definitely unexpected time-wise. She came in on Memorial Day this year, so May 27th. And that day was kind of a whirlwind of a day. I had gone out to a parade for my business in Rising Sun, and Brittany was supposed to join me that day, and she did not. She was not feeling well, and when I came home, she hadn't moved, and I knew something was wrong. I took her to the High Point Health, and when we were up there, she goes and tells the person she thinks she's having an anxiety attack because she couldn't be on her medicine during the pregnancy. And I had to convince Brittany to continue that story and to tell the registrar she's pregnant. It's like, that's kind of a big thing. And so the lady up there marked it down that that's what we were there for, an anxiety attack, and we kind of got to the bottom of the list. And mind you, it's a busy holiday up there for him. There's a guy next to us with something ran through his hand. So we kind of wait in the waiting room. We finally get back there, and we got blessed with a nurse. Her name's Ashley Ash, and we actually nominated her for the Daisy Award, and she's received that. But she normally had worked in OB, and she just switched to ER and picked up that holiday, waited for one extra patient because they were busy, and we ended up being the patient. So we really feel like God had a hand in all that stuff at the beginning, but she immediately recognized the symptoms. Brittany was all swollen up and everything, and realized it was preeclampsia, and got the doctor in the room right away. They did some blood work, and Ashley came back in and gave Brittany a shot and said, "You're going to need this later that day." And we were oblivious to what was going on. We had no clue that anything was severely wrong. And then the doctor came back in and he said, "I've got some bad news for you guys in the fact that it is preeclampsia, but it's HELP. And that's the worst kind of preeclampsia there is." And so he said, what the only known cure is to deliver the child, but you're 23 weeks along in pregnancy, and we can't support you here. We need to get you to another hospital that can. And he gave us the option of Good Sam or UC. And then he went into the risk that she was having with the HELP, and one of them was she could stroke, and her heart was already showing signs that it was working extremely hard, and that she could have a seizure. And Brittany already has epilepsy, so a seizure was a huge risk, and we chose to go to UC because that's where a neurologist was. And the doctor got an ambulance there for us and put us in the ambulance, and Ashley, the nurse, went with us and prepped Brittany going down there. When we arrived at UC, I text my mom, so I know exactly how long we were there, but I text her, and I text her again when we got into the room. It took us 7 minutes to get to the room. And then I text her again when they ended up taking Brittany back. And that whole timestamp was 20 minutes from the time we arrived to the time we were in the room. Or just the time they took her back. And they took her back, or when we got up to the room, there was 12 doctors and nurses all standing in the room, scrubbed up. And we had no clue. We thought we were going down there for options. And the first person that comes over and talks to Brittany is anesthesia. And then the next person that comes over and talks to us is from NICU, and her name's Meredith, and she tells us, "Your baby has a good chance of survival." And we're kind of look at her puzzled, like, okay, what are you going to do? And then the doctor comes over to us, and he goes, "I'm looking at your looks in your faces. You guys don't know what's going on here." He goes, "We're delivering the baby, and we're delivering the baby now." And that's when it hit us, and we just started bawling. We lost it. And Ashley, the nurse that came with us, she was out in the hall, and she said her heart just dropped. She didn't realize, we didn't know that was the only option. And in hindsight, it was probably a good thing that we didn't know that that was it, because that would have given us that whole ambulance ride to freak out more.
Right.
And the doctor asked to have a steroid injection given to Brittany, and the nurse gave her another one, and she said, "I don't think this is going to have time to take." And Ashley chimed in and said, "I gave her one 3 hours ago when she hit RDR." And the doctor said, "Well, hopefully that one took." And they brought Brittany back in to the operating room, and we didn't know exactly how far along we were in pregnancy at the beginning. We found out at the beginning of the second trimester, so we were late in kind of finding out. We were actually due to have a 30-day follow-up MR or ultrasound so they could date how far we were, and that was scheduled for the day after she was delivered. So we didn't know if we have a boy, girl, how far along. We knew none of that stuff. We knew an estimate. And they came back into the room about 15 minutes after they took Brittany back, and they said, "Do you want to come back and see your daughter?" And my first question was, she survived. I was shocked. I didn't know a baby could survive at 23 weeks. And she was born 23 weeks, 6 days, and at 14 ounces, 410 grams.
14 ounces. That's just crazy. I've read that story, and we talked a little bit before we started recording to have an idea. That's like a couple of cell phones in your hands.
2 iPhones put together.
Yeah, that's just
10 inches head to toe.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Not in a gruesome way, but you described it. Her skin was transparent, pretty much.
Yeah.
Translucent, I guess, is more the right term. You could see the blood vessels and everything right through her.
It was described as a clear gummy bear, and that's exactly what it looked like. And to see her there, her eyes were still completely sealed shut, and she was just, but everything about her from the very first moment was perfect. She could move every little toe, every little finger, every hand. She could grab, make fist. She could move around, and that was amazing to me to get to see that. And kind of looking back at it now, we're 4 months later, and that still amazes me to think that. But seeing how much she kicked around and stuff, I'm happy for Brittany. She doesn't have to deal with all that inside. But
now you're seeing what a pregnant mother actually would go through.
Well, and that was kind of cool because we got that opportunity to have another 3 months. We're kind of referring to it as bonus months, where we got to bond with her that a normal person in a normal pregnancy wouldn't get to do. But we got to see that whole third trimester develop, and that was definitely a positive that's come from this experience.
Yeah,
I witnessed that.
So, I'm sitting here thinking of what a wimp of a dad I was. I mean, I didn't pass out at the birth of either one of my kids.
I was dreading that part, to be honest.
Yeah, I was in on a delivery, but honestly, I was extremely just nervous, and I just not knowing. I didn't really grow up holding kids or babies or anything like that. Like, when I had our kids, that was kind of like the first exposure to babies. Yeah. And I was overwhelmed with anxiety of just like, oh man, I'm the first one that gets to screw this kid up. the responsibility of being a dad just kind of like blew me away. Like, oh, it only goes downhill from here. Yeah, and I kind of went that direction. And so, you were thrown in. Not only is
off the deep end.
A mom's pregnant, but I know one of the benefits of being pregnant is everybody gets that 9 months or so to prepare. Right? I don't even need to get the room ready yet because I got time. Yeah. And at 23 weeks, hello world.
So I was definitely like you in the fact that I had never even held a baby before, and when we go to family events with our babies, I'd be the person that's, I'm going to be over at the beer tap, not with my kids. So that was not me. So holding Charlie was really the first experience I ever had at holding a baby. But as far as getting thrown off the deep end, that's what we found out late. So we found out about the beginning of the second trimester, and we found out the week later after we've got our first ultrasounds and stuff and really confirmed that it was pregnancy. I was gone for 36 days for business. And then I came home and, all right, we're going to start planning, getting the showers together, get our list, get the room, all this stuff, put together. And it was about 2 weeks after that we ended up having Charlie. So it was definitely being thrown off the deep end with the whole thing. And I even made that comment to Brittany when we were at High Point, and we were kind of questioning what was going on and everything, and she goes, do you think they're going to make me have the baby today? And I said, there's no way they're going to. I said, on top of that, you tell me to go home and get the room ready. Yeah. And we're not to that point. But Brittany just had her first shower about 3 weeks ago now, and we now have a bed, and that's about all we got in the room. We have another shower coming up my mom and dad are putting on for us for the whole thing, and it's weird to have the showers after the baby's born and work on the whole thing. But the benefit is we now know more what Charlie needs than what Charlie doesn't need. So we can kind of skew things that way.
Yeah, so Charlie comes in the world, and she is got a full body, but that doesn't mean it's a full functioning body for the world. Right, it can function inside mom, but maybe not out in the world. So, without going into every little detail, like, what are some things that now Charlie is having to, some milestones that she's got to get to? Because from what I gather, she's still not home. She's still in the NICU, right?
Right.
And so, what are we doing? Like, what's her progress?
So Charlie is 124 days today, 25 days, so kind of all blend together. But so something kind of interesting there with the days is we finally hit Charlie's due date 2 weeks ago, and that was day 113 of life, was to get to the due date. So what she's overcome so far and what she still has to do, we had about the first, we spent 18 days at UC, so about day 15 of life, they realized that she wasn't stooling correctly, that there was some stool at the beginning, then it had stopped, and they did an ultrasound, and they realized that they believe she had neck, which is where part of the bowel dies off. Premature babies are really prone to that. It's a disease that they're open to. And they could not do anything for us at UC, so they transferred us over to Children's. And when I say they transferred us over to Children's, it was like they called us at 6 o'clock and said, we're transferring your baby at 6:15. So it was a pretty quick thing.
Was that because it was an emergency procedure that had to happen, or they just...
It was both. It was something they knew that they needed to do. They didn't know if Charlie was going to survive the transfer because she had not been stable for a while. And it was the first time since the day she was born she had a stable day where they weren't having to intervene on everything. And Children's ended up with an open bed, and it was just kind of everything fell into place, and they got her over there because they knew they have to fix whatever the problem was or we were going to have more issues. So they got us over there for evaluation, and they ended up doing a surgery around day 35 of life. So we were over there for about 15 days before they felt like she could survive the surgery. That was a big, big problem. And they went in, they opened her up, and they found that it wasn't neck, which was good news, but they were confused on what was causing the problem. So the surgeon removed all of her intestines, put them out on a table, and scoped them. And her whole, I'm going to screw this up, the lower upper intestine, whichever one's the longer one, where you or I would have 12 feet of bowel. She had less than 2 feet of bowel.
Oh, wow.
And when he scoped it, he found stool in the intestine, and stool should not be in the intestine. And he removed it, but he didn't feel like he found the smoking gun, in his words. He felt like if he found dead bowel and he removed it, he fixed the issue. So he opted to do a stoma, where they take part of the intestine up through the skin, and so then the food would come through the stomach, out the stoma, and into a bag, and then they refeed it through a tube that comes out of her body, and then let it pass through the rest of the bowel, and then out the rectum. So they chose to do that. That way he would have another entry point if that wasn't the problem. And then I asked him, well, why was there bowel in there? And his response was, when premature babies are born, their bodies have to function so quick that they're no longer can depend on mom doing all the functions, that sometimes things go for the path of least resistance. And that's what he felt like this was a part of. And just yesterday, she had a surgery to put all of her stuff back together. So they did what they call reconnection surgery. So now her bowel functions just like ours would. Once it recovers from the surgery, it will. Right. So that's kind of where one of the big hurdles that she'd have to overcome. Another thing is her lungs have to develop, and they've had to develop. She's been on a ventilator. She's on a ventilator for 102 days, which did all the breathing for her. Then we went to CPAP, and then we just went back to the ventilator yesterday because of the surgery. So the goal is to get her back to CPAP. Then we have to go to high flow, and then we get to go to wall oxygen. Then she gets to come home on that. So she's got some more hurdles still there to overcome. And then we have to work on bottle feeding, different things. So the goal is to get her home by Christmas, which puts us total time in NICU of around 200 days. So we're a little over halfway through.
Wow. That's crazy. So she's just now hit her birth date, and she still has quite a ways to go just to kind of shore things up and make sure that she can live out in this environment.
Yeah.
Wow, I just can't imagine. There's so many different avenues of stress here. Everything from obviously her health and well-being, but then life still continues, right? Bills have to be paid, yes. Work has to happen, and I know that you're a private businessman, and you take care of the family through your business and that kind of thing. So there's just so many different things that have hit you. AJ, if I could just not to sidestep Charleigh, but for just a second, Strong Dads came in to its existence because Kyle and I have worked with dads. He's in the fire department world, and Kyle, you can share a little bit about how you'd walk into houses and stuff and just see dads absent,
just the idea of the inconsistency when it comes to dads actually being present, the stability factor that you get with dads every day, kind of being that stability factor for the family.
Yeah, and so it was aggravating for him to walk into these situations and see, this is a dad problem. You talked about the Narcan use, and, Kyle's going back and, reviving people multiple times and seeing all the kids sitting in their dirt and clutter and all that, and it was very upsetting to him. I see, because of my background in the school setting, that I can have a troubled kid, and very, very often I can see an absent dad or not a very good dad, and so that's really what brought us together. Like, we need dads, more than anything else, and the statistics just are unbelievable. For the best thing that we can do for this country is not more government programs. It's not a subsidy of some sort. It's none of that. The best thing is a strong family.
I agree.
That's statistically, that just rules out everything. If I have a strong family, provision for the kids, all of these different things really take care of themselves. And if you just drill down a little bit farther, you see that it's actually the dad, because moms do an incredible job. Oftentimes dads leave the scene or whatever, and we have moms, they come in and they take charge and do what they need to do. But we find that they're overwhelmed, and those kids pay the price, and she pays the price for that. And so bringing dads in. Here's where Strong Dads comes about, though. Kyle and I start looking around and start looking at, so what are our dads doing? They're obviously still alive. They're out running around. They're doing stuff. And we have seen the definition of what a man is has changed by the view of our world, the influence of our world. We define a strong man now as literally by the weight he can push, by the size of his truck, by the size of his bank account, by how far he can hit a softball, by how many women he can be with. And so these definitions of strong men have completely taken away from really what Kyle and I believe is a strong dad. And I'm not going to make too much fun of you, but you're a pretty skinny guy.
I am.
You're a small guy. I don't even know, do you own a truck?
I do.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Has it got big motors on it and stuff?
No, it's a dually, though.
Yeah. And so all of a sudden, I would like to get your take a little bit, because I told Kyle before we would meet you today, we're getting ready to be taught by a 25-year-old dad about what it is to be a dad, a strong dad. What is your role now as a dad? Can you help us out? Teach us.
Well, I feel like my situation's probably a little different than a lot of dads' situations. But yeah, really, it's supporting a lot of people, and it's staying in communication with a lot of people. We have a lot of support for our family, and it's channeling that down. And I think, to me, it's being there for my wife, being there for my daughter, being there for my family, is part of it too, because a lot of pressure was put onto our shoulders overnight, mm-hmm. and a lot of people then depended on us. They depend on us for updates on our daughter. Sometimes they mm-hmm. drive us nuts asking for updates, but
you created a little bit of a monster once you started to share the story.
And it's because people love and care for us, and we truly appreciate that. But yeah, and we had a night when they told us Charleigh wasn't going to make it, and our hope, Brittany's and my hope, was that we would never ask the doctors to step in and to buy us time for Charleigh. We wanted to buy Charleigh time, and what that meant to us was we were going to buy her time to heal herself, but at no point did we want them to intervene to buy us time to hold her, to spend time with her, because we felt like that was very selfish of us to do.
Mm-hmm.
And when they told us she wasn't going to make it through the night, we arranged to have a meeting with the entire family, brought grandparents in, parents, everybody, and the doctor had the whole caring team for her, so a respiratory therapist, or OT, everybody was in the room and on the board there. And I opened that conversation up with, Brittany and I are not asking for opinions from family members, but we're telling you where we stand on it. And this is our stance is we want the best for Charleigh. We want her to be comfortable. We want her to grow. We want her to do what her body wants to do, but we don't want to buy us time. And I think it made a lot of people cry in the room to hear that, but that was our wish, and that's always been our wish, and that will always be our wish, is we don't want it to be selfish for us. And there's definitely days when we want to go in there, we want to hold her, and we want to do things with her, and but it's not a day for Charleigh. That she has her bad days and she has her good days, and it's what she wants, and it's supporting her through that. And she can't talk to us, she can't put it in words right now, but she does tell us. She moves around. She's got eyes. She's got facial expressions, and so she tells us that way. But the doctors can read the monitors and kind of tell us what she likes and doesn't like. So we try to read those things. We try to support her, support each other through it. But
well, I just can't tell you how mature that is. I mean, that is just so mature. The idea, because we think of this as, what about me? This is my daughter. I need to spend time with her. I need to hold her and all that. And the idea that we take the time to say what would be best for her. So that's the first thing that I see as a strong dad.
Thank you. Sometimes that means that we go there in the morning and we're going to hold her, and that's our goal that day. And we end up staying until 11 or 12 at night to meet that goal. But it's taking it at her pace and taking it at her time.
And it may not happen, right?
It might not
Sometimes
happen.
It doesn't happen.
And yeah, it hurts us, but we know that, it's the best thing for her, and we leave and do that. And sometimes it means we got to stay at the hospital if we're going to want to hold her, if we it's a big day or she's having problems and stuff. And she's at the point now where she really recognizes us and our touch, and we try to arrange our schedules to be there as much as possible. So
yeah. And not to clutter the story too much, but you mentioned this earlier when we were talking, so I think as I know this now, it even plays more in my mind that you guys have been told that you can't have kids anymore because of medical conditions of Britt and stuff like that. And so I have to think in the back of your mind, you're like, even selfishly, this is the only chance we get, right? And so you're going to protect that even more. So there's even more of a pressure of, we want this time.
We were told at the very beginning when, actually before we even married, I had taken Brittany to a new neurologist for epilepsy, and that neurologist had looked at her medicine and asked why she'd been on this one medication and said, no woman should ever be put on this that expects to have a child. This is a medicine that's known for making women infertile. It has almost a reputation of that. So we were under the impression that pregnancy was going to be an issue for us, and that we were going to have to really, go through a lot of doctor's appointments and stuff, but it was going to be doable. So when we found out we were expecting, we were tickled to death. That's one reason it took so long for us to even go to the doctor, was because we were told it was not going to be an easy thing.
Right.
So we were very excited, but their big thing was how quickly her HELP syndrome came on. So one of the big symptoms with HELP, and one of the big signs, is that your blood pressure rises. And she'd just gone to the doctor's office on Friday, and this came on Monday, and hers went from normal to 187 over 117 at the risk for stroke. So they said that with how quickly it came on with no signs, and they couldn't intervene besides delivering, that the risk of having a kid would be extremely great. So the night they told us that Charleigh couldn't make it, I looked at the doctor and I said, she's got to make it. Not that we haven't been fighting for her, but it was just earlier that day when we found out another kid would be way risky for us, and it could be another life or death situation, and that's not what we want. And I told the doctor that she's got to make it. We're fighting for her now more than ever, and that's we were able. That night was the first night we were able to actually hold her, and I got to hold my daughter for the first time, and that was really cool.
Yeah, very much. So through this journey that continues, part of Strong Dads is the idea that we're not strong by ourselves. We're strong when we're grounded in a faith. And AJ, I reach out to you because I know I don't have to convert you into a faith. I know that you're already a man of faith. Tell me a little bit about, because even in our prefacing of this show, you had mentioned things about your faith. Where's your faith in all this? And I'm sure there's even questions at times like, why, God? And there's other times when we probably draw from that. So what's your faith doing to get you through this?
Prayers, lots and lots of prayers. And that's been something since the very, very beginning. I mean, when we were at High Point Health, I reached out to my friends on Facebook and asked for prayers, and we started praying and everything, and that's what's gotten us through to this point. There's no doubt about it. And the amount of support from the community and the amount of prayers that are going up. I mean, God's got to know our name by now with how many people we got praying, but we got people praying from all over the world, and that's been through social media. I mean, we have a social media page on Facebook and Instagram, and
I believe that's called Charleigh Strong.
Yes,
right?
Charleigh Strong, NICU Warrior on both of them, and we try to keep everybody up to date on there. But like yesterday when she had her surgery, all we had to do was put that out there, and people were putting her in prayer groups and chains all across the country. On Father's Day, I wrote an open letter to her on there, and I had a preacher in Florida who did a whole homily on her, and we had about 13 states that weekend that she was mentioned in church groups, and people are sending us bulletins from Germany, from Canada.
So she's an international story right now.
Yeah.
She doesn't even know that.
She doesn't even know it.
You're gonna have to keep that not going to her head someday.
Right? Yeah, it's been crazy, but people have been praying all over the place for her, and that's definitely what's gotten us through this whole thing. And
yeah.
It's been amazing.
Well, AJ, knowing you and your personality, you've always been a doer. And you've always been a guy who's, that's a problem, let me solve it. And which I think a lot of us men are wired that way. But there's a curse to that, right? We think we can solve all problems. We think we can take care of everything. And you and Britt got handed I won't call it problem, a situation that needed problem solving. And it was out of your hands. So how's that for making you feel like I'm pretty much worthless right now?
Definitely. Yeah. It definitely did. There's no doubt about it. But I think that's something that we as people, we get friends and we get networks of people. We got people who are friends, but they're more colleagues. They're people that we wouldn't necessarily call on. And I think that's something that's taught us this is we have people who we don't even know that care about us and bring us. And so even though it's our situation, everybody's chirping in and chiming in and wanting to help. And that's been amazing. I mean, our page is over 5,000 people now who care and pray about our daughter. Wow. And there's been numerous times on Facebook, it shows you when people share and people see it and stuff. Over 150,000 people have seen Charleigh's story just this past week alone come up on their social media feeds. Wow. So there's so many people out there that care about us and help, and that's what's gotten us through it. And we opened up a P.O. box for people to mail letters to her, and that started because we were reading to her when she was getting an EEG, which monitors brain waves, and the EEG tech was there, and she was reading it while we were reading to her, and she goes, she really likes when you're reading, like, we'll start reading to her, and she showed us how the brain waves and stuff are tracking, and she goes, even though Charleigh, her eyes were still sealed shut, she's in a box, she couldn't move and stuff at that point real well. I mean, she was really tiny. This was like first week of life, so really tiny. And but she could hear our voices and she was reacting to them, and that was cool. And I posted something about it on my Facebook, and people were like, "Oh, you should read her this. You should do this." And so I opened up P.O. Box and I put it on there and I said, "You guys can mail her stuff and we'll read them." That to this date, we have over 500 letters that have been mailed from all over the country. People have made her items, sent gift cards, sent gifts, just sent cards. But what's amazed me about these cards is very few to none have been just get well cards with a signature. They've all been handmade cards or things written on them or letters inside of them. And they've been really cool things that we get to read to her. And so we read them all to her, every one of them when they come in, and then we save them for her. So we've got over 500 of them saved up. Our goal is to get 50 states, and we're just a few states short of getting all those. We've gotten them internationally from all over the place, but that's been really cool, and that's definitely been, just people reaching out, and they've taken their time to make these things or to write these things for our daughter, and there's no words that you can put with that, and it's just that's amazing. So even though it's our situation, everybody's chiming in and helping, and that's amazing.
I think it's important to now know that you've got a story here, but it's a story with a lot of strength and prayer behind it. and that it's very humbling, right? I mean, it's out of
Really
your
is.
hands. It's in God's hands and everybody's prayers and things. So I think that's very humbling, especially for a man to have to step out of his own way and have to allow kind of life in God to happen. But it is happening. We're seeing her progress and move through this. You kind of mentioned this before. Now that you've started all of this following, now people kind of expect, like, well, how's she doing? How's she doing, right? I don't know that that's going away anytime soon.
No.
You know, I got to think when she's 25, people are going to be like, okay, well, I followed you when you were 2 days old,
Yeah.
you know? And so let's be a little bit clear on you spell Charleigh a little differently,
We
so
do.
if somebody's going to follow on Facebook, can you spell that out for me? I think it's differently. It's Charleigh.
Correct.
Strong. Strong. That's not her last name. That's just
not
Charleigh
right.
Strong.
So people think it is her last name, and it's kind of funny. But we're kind of like, all right, we accept that because we're hiding our identity a little bit with it. But no, and so a couple quick things on that point. One is how we got her name and the spelling. So on one of our first few dates, Brittany had mentioned if we ever have a kid together, that it's going to be named Charlie. And I looked at her and I said, even for a girl, you're going to name a girl Charlie? I'm like, this is not acceptable. And she's like, no, we just spell it differently. We knew, and I kind of was like, oh, okay. But then I got to thinking about it later on. And I think it was that night I texted her and I said, you know, I think we should name our baby if we ever get married and have a kid, Charlie. And I said, because it's Alan, which is my legal name, Brittany, Charlie, ABC. And then I got thinking about it like a month later or something like that. I wrote down our middle names or something, and mine's James, which is where my AJ comes from, and then hers is Kimberly. And so L, JKL. So we had the alphabet going on, and we had to continue it. So we have Charleigh Lillian Waltz is her full name.
Okay.
And then it's spelled differently because I was determined if it was going to be a girl that we spell it differently. And I went Baby C for the first few days because we hadn't agreed on yet how to spell the name. Mm-hmm. And we were between Lillian and Lexi for the middle name, and Lillian just fit right in. So, but that's kind of how we ended up with the name.
Yeah.
And then the Charlie Strong hashtag, on one of my first like 2 or 3 posts I put out there, somebody just commented, Charlie, you're going to be strong. And that just kind of caught my attention. I was like, you know what? We're going to just hashtag everything Charlie Strong. And that's how everybody's been kind of following her story.
Yeah, that's her story right now. That's her title. So I know life has continued in a lot of different ways. Finances have to still be taken care of, and you and I, we talked beforehand. We're not doing an active fundraiser.
Right.
You didn't want to do that, and I really respect that you. There are different means and different ways that financially things are happening right now. But you do see some things coming up that are going to be requiring extra financial resources that might go outside of insurance and that kind of stuff. And so if somebody did want to donate to your cause, to Charlie's cause, how might they do that?
Sure. So right now the only way that we really have set up for donations is they can mail a check to the P.O. Box, which is 3488 in Lawrenceburg. So that's 47025 for the zip code.
Okay, 3488.
3488.
It's a
P.O.
post
Box.
office. Okay,
Yep,
okay.
P.O. Box
And
3488.
Lawrenceburg, and what's the zip on that?
47025.
Okay.
Right. And then what we're seeing the funds going to be used for, we finally got everything situated with insurance, which took like 87 days to get situated, which took forever. But we got all that stuff situated, so we're hoping for minimal hospital bills, but we'll see what ends up happening with that. But so she's missing a lot of milestones at this point. One of them's like taking a bottle, for instance. She hasn't been able to do that yet, and everything kind of piles up once you miss some of these beginning milestones. And our goal, and the doctors have said it's definitely doable, is to have her caught up on everything by kindergarten. So when she starts kindergarten, she'd just be like any other full-term baby, and mentally to that point as well. But to get to that point, they said we have to be really aggressive, and she's going to have to get the right type of help now all the way until then. And that is something that insurance is going to say, we're going to only cover so many visits, and we already don't feel like that's what we define as aggressive.
Right.
So we're going to use this additional money that has come in, and we're going to make sure that we are aggressive with that, and that she gets every tool and every opportunity that we can give her to get caught up on it.
Yeah.
And we don't want her to miss out on anything.
Yeah, that poor little girl's going to be in boot camp for the next 5 years.
Yeah,
isn't she?
exactly.
We're going to get the best out of her. That's awesome, and I appreciate your passion for all of this. You're humbling to us. I know Kyle and I both just feel like, wow, these are really the type of stories that men need to hear, instead of pounding our chest for some of the silly things that we do pound our chest for. Also, I just want to compliment your wife, Britt. I just can't even imagine what she feels and goes through as a mom, and the strength that she is to you, I'm sure. Also, we see just the importance of the marriage right here. My wife and I do run Rock Solid Families, and we see all the time when you bring in outside stress, whether it's a special needs child or whatever, oftentimes relationships start to fracture in between husband and wife because life just gets crazy, right? And everything from the stress of that to some selfish little things that bubble up, and the next thing you know, we see husbands and wives start to kind of not get along as well. And when the storm seems to settle, you think that, okay, we can rest now and everybody's going to come back together. Well, we often see that the relationships go through even a greater challenge because the immediate struggle is right now, but there's going to be a continued struggle now of just raising and having balancing life. And so I just pray for the two of you, for Charlie's sake, that your relationship is strong and is blessed by God, and the two of you understand the purpose in going to God. God is your glue. Charlie's your glue right now, but God's your glue.
Right.
And so I want to encourage you guys to always be in touch with that. And I know here at Rock Solid Families, we would love to help in any way we can if we ever need to coming down the road. Charlie might turn out to be a handful of discipline. We help that
she's
too.
She's already pretty spoiled.
Yeah. That'll be the hard thing too. Like when you go, okay, wait, she's just like a totally healthy, regular kid. And now you got to start to discipline this little cute thing, right?
I know.
She stole your heart for so long, you wouldn't want to do anything bad to her. And now you're like, listen, stop it right now! Don't you ever do that again.
They had a sign they had a saying at UC: "Whatever Charlie wants, Charlie gets."
Yeah.
And we kind of continue that, and I'm like, "There's going to be a point where we're just going to put our foot down."
That's right. You're 18. You've gone too far at this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll get an update on that, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
On
We'll have to do a follow-up in a few years.
Yeah. AJ, I appreciate very much your time. We're going to start to wrap things up. I appreciate this. We want you to stay strong. If there's anything that we can do here to help you, don't hesitate to ask. We hope that we can help you, but we know that your story is helping a lot of others. Yeah. And so I think that's a big purpose too, in just getting you on our show. Do you have anything else that you want to say or add in our closing here?
Well, first, thank you guys for having me and taking the time to give me this opportunity. But I want to thank everybody that's given us support or that does or plans to. Even if simple thing is a prayer, that sounds simple, but it's helped so much, and that's what's gotten us through it. The people that have taken the time to write us letters, to share our story, to read a post, and all of that, it all goes so far with us, and we can't be more thankful for that. And our community, the community's just been amazing. We thank everybody for that. And every day is a struggle and an uphill battle, but she's making it, she's doing it, and we'll try to keep everybody updated on it. So appreciate it.
That's awesome. If it's okay, I'd like to pray for us.
Sure.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you, Lord, for the strength that you have put into Charlie and to AJ and to Britt. And Lord, we pray that your Spirit would continue to heal her and that you would keep this family strong. Lord, we thank you for how you have shown the love of Christ through all of these other people. And it's just that reason alone that we see you as a purpose in our life. You have taught us how to love, and you've taught us how to sacrifice even when it's not comfortable. So I pray, Lord, that you would continue just lifting up the Charlie Strong family, and that you would bless them. And I pray for health. Lord, I thank you for this awesome community that we live in that is so willing to go above and beyond and support this family. So, again, thank you for showing us what love is. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Kyle, I know you didn't get a lot of chance to talk.
That's all right.
But you know what?
No.
AJ's story trumps us today.
It does.
It trumps us.
Absolutely.
All right. That's all we're going to do. I'll let you sign off.
Yeah, go out there and be some strong dads.
All right. Great. Hey, this is Merle Hutchinson from Strong Dads. Strong Dads wants to thank Mansfield Insurance Agency in Bright, Indiana for sponsoring today's Strong Dads podcast. Established in 1981, the Mansfield Insurance Agency has been dedicated to the individuals and businesses in Bright, Indiana, serving clients throughout Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky.